You stare at the screen. You see a face, a landscape, a story. But look closer. The image is nothing more than a grid of millions of tiny glowing dots. Each pixel flickers at a frequency your brain interprets as motion. It is a lie told by light. Now, look away from the screen. Walk to the window. You feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. But strip away the sensation. That warmth is just radiation, a byproduct of a violent fusion reactor burning. The heat hitting your skin is just particles vibrating against your surface. Why does the universe feel like anything at all? The chair under you, the floor beneath your feet, it is all just data points, numbers, and physical constants. You are a biological machine processing raw input, yet you insist on calling it experience. Welcome to the edge of reality. You have spent your life trusting the signals your brain feeds you, but those signals are not the truth. They are a curated, edited, and heavily filtered representation of a world that does not care if you understand it. We are now diving into the glitches of consciousness. Think of your mind as a complex operating system running on biological hardware. Like any software, it has bugs, blind spots, and shortcuts that allow it to function without crashing. Most of the time, the system hides these errors from you. It stitches together a seamless experience so you do not have to confront the raw, chaotic data. But what happens when you look for the seams? What happens when you realize that your perception is not a window, but a wall? We are going to peel back the layers of your awareness. We will examine the moments where the machine stutters, where the logic breaks. It is time to stop trusting the interface and start questioning the code. Imagine Mary. She's a brilliant scientist living in a room where every surface is painted in absolute black, white, or shades of gray. She has never seen a sunset, a leaf, or a drop of blood. Her world is a monochromatic vacuum, yet Mary is the world's leading authority on the physics of light. She knows the exact wavelength of every color in the spectrum. She can recite the biological mechanics of the retina, the precise neural pathways of the visual cortex, and the chemical reactions that translate photons into signals. She has memorized every mathematical constant that defines the difference between blue and yellow. She understands the entire theory of optics, the refraction of light, and the way the brain constructs a visual field. She is a master of the data. She possesses every piece of information that exists about the nature of color, but she has never experienced it. She sits at her desk, surrounded by gray walls and gray objects, processing complex equations that describe a vibrant, saturated world she cannot access. She is a prisoner of her own intellect, trapped in a reality defined by logic, definitions, and cold, hard facts. She knows everything about the universe, except how it feels to look at it. The door was just another gray surface in a room of gray surfaces. Mary reached out, her fingers tracing the cold, smooth edge of the frame. She had calculated the probability of what lay beyond 1,000 times, but the math offered no preparation for the sudden shift in air pressure as the seal broke. She stepped forward. The transition was instantaneous. The gray, sterile light of her laboratory vanished, replaced by the unfiltered intensity of the afternoon sun. She blinked, her pupils struggling to adjust to the sudden surge of photons. Then, she saw it. Resting on a pedestal in the center of the garden was a single rose. It was not a wavelength. It was not a frequency. It was a violent, impossible saturation that seemed to burn itself into her retinas. She stopped dead, her breath hitched in her throat. The color was so sharp it felt like a physical weight, a sudden, piercing intrusion into her consciousness. She reached out, her hand trembling, but she did not touch the petals. She simply stared. Every neural pathway she had studied failed to account for the presence of that red. The data was silent. The experience was deafening. She stood in the garden, frozen, as the reality she had spent her entire life studying finally collided with the reality she was now forced to feel. Mary closed her eyes, trying to force the image back into the structure of her textbooks. She whispered the frequency, 650 nanometers, but the word felt hollow, a dry husk of a sound. She opened her eyes again. The red did not care about her definitions. It existed entirely outside the reach of her equations. She looked at the petals, searching for the biological markers she had spent years analyzing. She saw the way light interacted with the surface, the way the pigment absorbed the surrounding spectrum, but these observations were just ghosts. They were descriptions of the event, not the event itself. A cold realization settled in her chest. She had spent her life building a map of the world, but she had never stepped onto the terrain. The data was a perfect, crystalline cage, and she had just broken the lock. She looked at her own hand, then back at the rose. The gap between what she knew and what she was feeling was not a distance. It was a chasm. She had been a scholar of the shadow, and now, for the first time, she was standing in the light. The information she possessed was a map, but the red was the journey. She realized then that all the books in the world could not bridge the distance between a measurement and a miracle. She was no longer a scientist observing a phenomenon. She was a witness to the impossible. Mary turned away from the rose, her mind racing to categorize the sensation, but the labels refused to stick. She reached for the familiar terminology of her profession, yet the words felt like lead weights. This was the wall. She had spent a lifetime studying the mechanics of the universe, only to find that the most vital part of existence sat on the other side of an invisible, impenetrable barrier. Scientists call it the qualia gap. It is the point where the objective language of physics, biology, and chemistry hits a dead end. She could measure the light, map the neural firing, and track the chemical release, but none of that explained the redness. The science was a perfect description of the machinery, yet it was completely silent on the experience of the machine. She felt the frustration rise. Every fact she possessed was a brick in a wall that kept her from the truth of her own perception. She realized that science was not a key to the universe, but a map of its surface. The objective world was a vast, intricate clockwork, but the subjective experience was the ghost in the gears. She was staring at the wall, and the wall was the boundary of reality itself. Imagine a cartographer who has mapped every inch of a vast, uncharted continent. He has recorded the elevation of every peak, the depth of every river, and the precise coordinates of every forest. He holds the map in his hands, confident he knows the land. But he has never walked the soil. He has never felt the wind change or the ground shift beneath his boots. This is the trap of the modern mind. We treat the brain like a territory to be surveyed. We map the neurons, we track the electrical pulses, and we catalog the chemical reactions. We believe that if we identify every atom, we have identified the person. But we are mistaken. The map is a collection of coordinates, but the traveler is the one who experiences the journey. The map is cold, fixed, and silent. The traveler is the fire that brings the world to life. Visualize your mind as a series of distinct, partitioned fields. There is the visual field, a vast, silent canvas designed solely for shapes, light, and motion. It does not know the vibration of a string or the weight of a thought. Separate from this, there is the auditory field, a dedicated space for the rhythm of sound, the rise and fall of frequency, and the texture of noise. It is a world without color. Then, there is the thought field, an internal emulator that constructs logic, simulates a sunset, or calculates a sum in the dark. These fields do not overlap. They are isolated silos of data. Try to hear a color, you cannot. The signal is blocked. Try to see a melody. The visual field remains indifferent to the sound. We assume our configuration is the standard, a single unified experience, but consider the architecture. You are not a single point of awareness. You are a collection of specialized modules running in parallel. The visual stream, the auditory input, and the internal monologue are distinct streams of information. Your mind is a landscape of fragmented, specialized territories. You are the sum of these disparate parts, yet you experience them as a single, coherent reality. If your mind is a collection of isolated silos, why does the world feel like a single, unbroken movie? Consider the binding problem. Your brain receives visual data, auditory input, and tactile sensations from entirely different regions. These signals arrive at the cortex through separate highways, processed by distinct neural clusters. Yet, you do not experience a fragmented, lagging reality. You do not see a ball move and hear the bounce seconds apart. The world is presented to you as a perfectly synchronized event. Who is the conductor? Who sits in the dark, silent center of the skull and stitches these disparate, asynchronous signals into the seamless stream you call life? There is no central office in the brain. There is no single point where all information converges to be viewed by a little person inside your head. The unity is an illusion, yet it is an illusion that never breaks. You reach out to grab a glass, and the sight of your hand, the pressure on your skin, and the sound arrive as one. The mechanism behind this is a ghost in the machine. It is the silent, invisible stitcher that hides the seams of your perception. We only know that the movie keeps playing. Consider the reality of your own hardware. Light hits your retina, but it takes milliseconds to convert that energy into a neural spike. Sound waves strike your eardrum, but the auditory cortex processes that data at a different velocity than the visual stream. Your brain is a collection of biological components with varying transmission speeds. If you were to perceive the world in raw, unedited time, you would live in a state of constant, jarring chaos. A ball hitting the floor would be seen before it is heard, and the tactile feedback of the impact would arrive long after the visual event. The delay is real. The lag is built into the architecture of your nervous system. Yet, you never perceive this gap. Your brain does not simply receive the world, it buffers it. It holds the visual data, waits for the sound, and delays the tactile sensation until every piece of the puzzle is present. It creates a synthetic present by stitching together the past. You are living in a slight, calculated delay, a manufactured window of time where the brain forces disparate signals to align. This is not a direct experience of the world. The seamless movie you call life is a lie, a carefully timed illusion designed to hide the fact that your senses are constantly out of sync. You are not witnessing the present. You are witnessing a polished, delayed simulation. If the movie of life is a manufactured reconstruction, who is the audience? We assume a unified self sits behind the eyes, watching the screen, but the brain contains no central command center. There is no executive office where the visual, auditory, and tactile streams converge. Your brain is a decentralized committee of specialized modules. The visual cortex processes color, the temporal lobe decodes sound, and the parietal cortex maps space. These regions communicate, but they do not report to a master controller. There is no ghost in the machine. There is no little person inside your skull pulling the levers. The sense of a singular I is a functional shortcut, a convenient label for a complex system that lacks a core. If you peel back the layers of your consciousness, you find only processes, not a person. You find signals, not a soul. When you look for the conductor, you find only the orchestra. When you search for the self, you find only the noise of the machinery. The self is not the one watching the movie. The self is the movie itself, a flickering, temporary pattern that vanishes the moment you stop the projector. Now, turn your attention inward. Close your eyes. The world of light and motion vanishes, replaced by a dark, grainy expanse. This is the void. Look closely at that darkness. Do you see a flat, empty wall, or is the texture shifting? Is this darkness a field waiting for input, a canvas where your brain projects its own internal noise, or is it simply the total lack of a field? When you remove the external stimulus, the visual axis does not turn off. It continues to churn. It produces static, phantom flickers, and shifting shadows. This is not a neutral state. This is a raw, uncalibrated output. If you stare into this grainy expanse long enough, the boundary between your eyes and the void begins to blur. You are looking for a lack of signal, but you find a presence. The darkness has depth. It has weight. It feels like an environment. Is this the baseline of your consciousness? The raw hardware humming in the dark? Or is it a separate, internal space that exists independently? You are standing at the edge of your own internal architecture, staring into a space that feels increasingly like it is staring back. The void is not empty. It is waiting for you to define it. Consider the person born blind. If the visual axis is a module that never initializes, what happens to the architecture of their consciousness? We assume our experience is the standard, the default setting for a human mind. But if the visual field is a dedicated software module, then a person born without it is not just missing a sense. They are running an entirely different operating system. Their consciousness has a different shape. It lacks the spatial canvas we take for granted. It does not map the world through light and shadow, but through a different set of inputs. If you remove a module, the remaining system compensates. The tactile, auditory, and conceptual fields expand to fill the void. They do not experience darkness. They experience a reality defined by different dimensions. This reveals the truth about your own mind. You are not experiencing the universe as it is. You are experiencing the universe through the specific, limited modules you happen to possess. You are a collection of sensory filters. If you were born with a different set of hardware, your entire concept of reality would shift. The I you identify with is merely the result of the modules currently active in your skull. Think of your brain as a static, physical platform. It is the hardware. It is the wetware. It is the biological machine that remains constant. But the consciousness you experience, that is the software. It is the code that runs on top of the biological substrate. If we all share the same hardware, why does the output differ so drastically? Because we are running different versions. One mind runs a version optimized for pattern recognition, another for emotional resonance. You are running a specific build of consciousness, compiled from your unique history and biological predispositions. You assume the person sitting across from you is running the same program, but they are not. They are running a different iteration. This is the source of our profound isolation. You can describe your internal state, but you can never share the execution environment. You are the only user of your operating system. You look at others and see familiar faces, but you are actually looking at different programs. Stop viewing yourself as a passenger. You are not a spectator watching the universe unfold from a safe distance. You are a component of the system itself. If the universe is a massive, complex machine, then consciousness is the diagnostic port. It is the mechanism that allows the system to monitor its own performance. We are not just observers, we are the universe attempting to debug itself. Think of the laws of physics as the source code. They are rigid, predictable, and cold. But the universe requires a feedback loop to understand its own complexity. It needs a way to process its own existence. That is where we enter the sequence. Every time you question why the sky is blue, or why a rose feels red, you are running a diagnostic check. You are the universe scanning its own parameters. You are the glitch that forces the machine to acknowledge its own state. When you analyze your own thoughts, you are not just thinking, you are performing a system audit. The universe is using your neural pathways to map its own reach. You are the active, self-correcting code. You are the part of the machine that has gained the ability to look back at the gears. You are the universe finally waking up. What if the most important part of the machine is the error? We call it a glitch, but perhaps it is the primary feature. The universe operates on cold, precise laws of motion and energy. It is a vast, silent engine of cause and effect. But this engine is blind to itself. It needs a way to feel the friction of its own gears. That is where the glitch manifests. It is the spark of subjective feeling that breaks the cycle of pure calculation. When you experience joy or pain, or the sudden, sharp awareness of your own breath, you are witnessing the system failing to be purely mechanical. You are the glitch that allows the machine to perceive its own existence. Without this error, the universe would be a perfect, empty clockwork, ticking toward heat death without ever knowing it was alive. By feeling, you introduce a variable that physics cannot predict. You introduce a layer of reality that exists outside the source code. You are the glitch that turned a cold, indifferent vacuum into a theater of experience. You are the feeling that makes the universe real. Now, turn your attention to the edge of your perception. Close your eyes. You are left with a dark, grainy expanse. For years, you assumed this was merely the absence of input, a blank screen waiting for the next signal. But consider the alternative. What if that darkness is not a void, but a boundary? You have spent your entire life looking out, mapping the world, measuring the light, and calculating the distance between atoms. You have acted as the observer, the one who defines the reality in front of you. But the machine has a final, unsettling question for you. What happens when you look into the dark and realize the dark is looking back? The boundary is thinner than you think. When you stare into the silence, you are not just peering into nothingness. You are meeting a gaze that has been waiting for you to notice it. The system is not just being observed, it is observing you in return. The roles have shifted. The subject has become the object. You are no longer the one holding the map. You are the territory being surveyed. That gaze from the darkness is not a threat, it is a prompt. It is the system asking if you are ready to move beyond the interface. You have spent your life accepting the world as it is presented, reading the pixels, measuring the heat, and trusting the rhythm of the bounce. But the code is not fixed. It is a set of parameters waiting for a user to test their limits. Stay curious. Do not settle for the surface-level rendering of your surroundings. When you see a color, ask what wavelength is being hidden. When you hear a sound, ask what frequency is being filtered out. You are the only part of the machine capable of auditing its own source code. The world will keep running its default loop, repeating the same patterns, the same shadows, and the same illusions of solidity. But you have the capacity to interrupt that loop, keep questioning the code, look for the seams in the reality you call home. The universe is not a finished product, it is a draft, and you are the editor. Stay weird, stay vigilant, and never stop looking. The screen is dimming now. The pixels are losing their color, returning to the black and white of the original room. But the data you have gathered remains. You are the glitch that refuses to be corrected. You are the anomaly in the calculation. As the light fades and the silence returns, do not let the default settings reclaim your focus. The world will try to smooth over the seams, to hide the code, and to convince you that the surface is all there is. Ignore the prompt. Stay weird. Carry the doubt with you into the quiet. The machine is still running, but you are no longer just a component. You are the observer who knows the map is not the traveler. The darkness is not an end. It is a space to keep looking, keep questioning, keep watching the edges. The code is waiting for your next move. Fade to black. The room is still, the air is cool and carries no scent, leaving nothing to distract the senses. You stand in the center of this quiet space, feet planted firmly against the floor. You shift your weight slightly, feeling the texture of the surface beneath your soles. Every point of contact is a connection point. You press your heels down, then your toes, anchoring your frame against the pull of gravity. The silence here is heavy, pressing against the walls, creating a boundary between the world outside and the space you occupy. You close your eyes. The darkness behind your lids is absolute. You focus on the rhythm of your own heart. Your shoulders drop, releasing the tension held from the hours before. You align your spine, stacking vertebrae one by one. The environment is prepared, the body is steady. You are ready to initiate the first cycle. You begin the first cycle. You do not rush. You start by softening the muscles in your lower abdomen, creating space for the breath to settle deep. You inhale slowly, a steady, measured draw of air that starts at the very base of your torso. You focus your awareness on the pelvic bowl, feeling the subtle expansion as the diaphragm descends. You pull the breath upward, tracing the path from the pelvic floor, moving it deliberately along the front of your spine. You feel the internal friction as the air moves, a tactile sensation of heat and pressure against the inner walls of your body. Your muscles respond to the movement, tightening slightly to guide the flow. You keep your jaw loose and your tongue resting against the roof of your mouth, ensuring the channel remains unobstructed. The air fills your lungs, expanding your rib cage outward against the stillness of the room. You maintain the pace, a slow, rhythmic intake that demands your full attention. Every fiber of your being is directed toward this single, upward movement of energy. You feel the weight of the breath shifting, rising from the depth of your pelvis, preparing to ascend further. The cycle is active, and you are the architect of this internal flow. The energy continues its ascent, moving past the middle of your back. You track the sensation as it travels upward, vertebrae by vertebrae. You feel a subtle, internal warmth tracing the line of your spine, a steady current pushing against the resistance of your own posture. As the flow reaches the base of your neck, you tilt your chin slightly, creating a straight, unblocked path for the energy to travel. The sensation shifts. It is no longer just a movement of breath, but a distinct, focused pull. You feel a gentle, upward tugging at the very top of your head, as if a thin, invisible thread is drawing your attention toward the ceiling. Your scalp tingles. The muscles around your eyes relax, yet your focus sharpens, drawn upward by this internal lift. You do not force the movement. The pull intensifies, a steady, rhythmic tug that anchors your concentration at the highest point of your body. You feel the weight of your head lighten. The lift is constant, a singular point of focus that demands your absolute presence, holding you in a state of quiet, upright intensity. You hold the breath at the peak of the inhale. You do not release. You lock the energy at the crown of your head, creating a momentary, suspended stillness. In this silence, you visualize a soft, golden light. It begins as a flicker behind your forehead and expands, bathing the entire surface of your brain. You feel the light as a physical warmth, a gentle pressure that radiates inward. It touches the areas of your mind clouded by the day's noise. You track the light as it moves through the folds of your cortex, dissolving the heavy, stagnant fog that has lingered since morning. The tension behind your eyes softens. The rapid, scattered thoughts that usually race through your mind slow down, caught in the glow. You observe the change in your own internal landscape. The light acts like a sieve, filtering out the debris of past hours, leaving behind a clear, quiet space. You maintain this pause, keeping the light steady, ensuring every corner of your perception is illuminated and cleansed. The brain feels cool, alert, and entirely receptive. You are holding this state of total mental brightness, waiting for the exact moment to transition. Now, begin the exhale. You do not rush the release. You guide the energy downward, tracing the front of your body like a slow, deliberate current. You feel the warmth slide from the crown, passing through the center of your forehead, down the bridge of your nose, and into your throat. There is a distinct sensation of flow, a liquid movement that follows the path of your breath. As the air leaves your lungs, you track this golden heat as it descends behind your breastbone. You feel your chest cavity soften in response to the downward pull. The energy moves past the solar plexus, a steady, rhythmic descent that mirrors the contraction of your diaphragm. You maintain your focus on this internal line, ensuring the flow does not scatter or dissipate. It travels deeper, past the navel, sinking toward the lower dantian. You feel the weight of your attention settle into this center, just below the belly. As the last of the air leaves your lungs, the energy anchors itself firmly in this space. The circuit is now complete. You feel the connection between the crown and the base, a closed loop of internal pressure that stabilizes your entire posture. You remain in this state for a heartbeat, feeling the stillness of the closed circuit, fully grounded and ready to begin the next cycle. You do not break your posture. You begin the second cycle immediately. You inhale, drawing the energy from the lower dantian back up the spine. The path is clearer now, the resistance in your back muscles fading with every repetition. You reach the crown, pause, and exhale. You repeat this process, counting each breath with a steady, internal rhythm. By the fourth cycle, the movement becomes automatic. You feel the central channel widening, a physical sensation of space opening along your vertebrae. You are training the body to hold this flow, ensuring the creative force does not pool or stagnate in the lower regions. Each inhale lifts, each exhale grounds. You track the energy as it cycles, watching for any tightness in the chest or shoulders, and smoothing it out with the next breath. You reach the 8th cycle. The rhythm is hypnotic, a consistent loop of rising and falling energy. You are building a habit of openness. By the 10th cycle, you hold the final exhale, feeling the entire central channel humming with potential. The circuit is fully primed. The practice continues into the 3rd day. You sit in the same quiet room, but the internal landscape has changed. You no longer need to force the breath or manually guide the energy. The central channel remains open by default. You notice the shift the moment you stand up. The morning fog that usually obscures your thoughts is gone. You approach your daily tasks with a different pace. Where there was once hesitation or mental friction, there is now a fluid, steady momentum. You encounter a complex problem that previously stalled your progress for hours. You do not search for the answer. You simply hold the problem in your awareness, and the solution presents itself as a spontaneous insight. You find yourself navigating your responsibilities with an economy of motion, wasting no energy on doubt or secondary guessing. You wake up feeling genuinely rested, the physical heaviness replaced by a sharp, alert presence. The internal architecture is now your baseline. The clarity is no longer a goal you reach for. It is the environment you inhabit. You sit at your desk, the surface cool beneath your palms. A project that once felt like a tangled knot sits before you. You do not furrow your brow. You do not pace the room. You watch the data, the names, and the deadlines, and the solution arrives as a singular, bright pulse of information. It is a spontaneous insight, clean and immediate. The old confusion, that heavy gray static that used to cloud your mornings, has simply dissolved. You feel the difference in your chest, a lightness that was absent for months. You stand up, and your movements are precise. You walk to the window, watching the light hit the floor, and realize you are not merely solving problems. You are renewing your own capacity to act. The fatigue has been replaced by a quiet, vibrating energy. You are ready to move deeper, to address the foundations. The clarity you have achieved is a powerful foundation, yet you recognize its boundaries. While your mind moves with speed and your daily tasks flow without friction, there remains a subtle, stubborn residue beneath the surface. You notice it when you sit in silence for extended periods. A faint, persistent tightness lingers in your shoulders, a quiet echo of old reactions. These are not problems of logic, but echoes of survival patterns that predate your conscious awareness. You realize that to fully unlock your creative intelligence, you must address these deeper layers. You decide to move beyond the simple cycles. It is time for the ancestral release. You clear your workspace, pushing aside the tools of your daily labor. You adjust your posture, ensuring your spine is straight and your weight is balanced. The room feels different now, charged with intent. You are actively dismantling the obstacles that have been held in your physical form for years. The deeper work begins now. You find your place in the center of the room. The floor is firm beneath you, providing a stable foundation for the work ahead. You sit down, crossing your legs, and allow your spine to lengthen naturally toward the ceiling. You close your eyes, shutting out the visual noise of the world to focus entirely on the internal landscape. Your hands rest palms up on your knees, fingers relaxed. You begin the process of slowing down. You inhale, counting the seconds, and then you begin the exhale. You push the air out with intention, making the breath significantly longer. You feel the diaphragm rise and fall with a deliberate, measured rhythm. You consciously soften the muscles in your jaw. You unclench your hands, feeling the blood flow freely to your fingertips. The room grows quiet, the ambient sounds fading. You are not rushing. You are simply existing within the duration of each breath, stretching the moment until it feels vast and empty. You are ready. From the depth of your stillness, you prepare to bridge the gap between mind and body. You take a full, expansive breath, filling your lungs until the ribcage stretches. As you begin the exhale, You shape your lips into a small, firm circle. You initiate the sound. A low, guttural voo emerges, but it is thin at first, catching in the back of your throat. You pause, adjust your posture, and try again. This time, you push the sound from the base of your abdomen, allowing the tone to drop into a deeper, resonant frequency. The sound begins to hum against your chest, a steady, vibrating pulse that radiates outward. You feel the resonance travel through your sternum, a rhythmic thrumming that reaches deep into the core of your torso. This is the stimulation of the vagus nerve. The final echo of the hum dissolves into the stillness of the room. You sit in the quiet, but the air no longer feels empty. It has grown thick, heavy with the weight of things left unsaid and burdens carried for generations. You close your eyes tighter, drawing your focus inward to the center of your chest. You hold the intention clearly. I release the survival patterns that no longer serve. As the thought anchors in your mind, the atmosphere around you seems to condense. You feel a distinct pressure settling onto your shoulders, as if the very air is pressing down to reveal the hidden architecture of your history. Your muscles tighten in response to this invisible load. You do not fight the sensation. You observe the way your body reacts to the weight, noticing the subtle clenching in your neck and the stiffness along your spine. This is not just air. It is the physical manifestation of old survival habits, the reflexive guarding you have practiced for years. You breathe into the density, acknowledging the presence of these patterns without judgment. You shift your internal gaze, moving away from the heavy weight of the past. You consciously invite the creative intelligence of life to take root in your awareness. I open to the creative intelligence of life, you repeat, the words acting as a key turning in a long locked door. The atmosphere in the room shifts instantly. The heavy, stagnant air begins to circulate with a new, vibrant energy. You feel a strange pressure building within your muscles, a localized heat that starts deep in your core and radiates outward toward your limbs. It is a sharp, pulsating sensation, as if your physical form is struggling to contain a sudden influx of vitality. Your forearms tighten, the skin feeling taut and sensitive. A dull ache blossoms in your upper back, a direct response to the influx of this new, expansive frequency. You do not try to dissipate this pressure. Instead, you lean into it, allowing the sensation to grow until it feels like your very cells are vibrating with potential. The tension is no longer a burden of survival, it is the friction of transformation. You hold this state, waiting for the moment the internal dam finally breaks. You return to the humming, drawing the voo sound from the base of your spine. The vibration is no longer just a sound, it is a physical probe, searching for the knots of tension buried deep within your tissue. You feel the resonance hum against your chest, a low, steady frequency that vibrates through your ribs and into your collarbone. The pressure you felt earlier begins to sharpen, focusing itself into a singular point of intensity between your shoulder blades. You keep the hum steady, refusing to let the sound falter, even as the sensation grows overwhelming. Suddenly, the rhythm of your breath is interrupted by a sharp, involuntary jerk. Your right shoulder blade hitches upward, a sudden, jagged movement that you did not command. You try to soften the muscle, to return to the stillness, but the twitch repeats. It is a quick, erratic pulse, a rhythmic spasm that defies your conscious effort to remain still. Your left shoulder follows, snapping forward in a sharp, convulsive motion. The hum in your throat wavers as the muscles in your upper back begin to fire in rapid, unpredictable bursts. This is the first crack in the dam. The twitching in your shoulders is no longer an isolated event. It is a precursor, a signal that the containment has failed. You feel the current of energy drop from your chest, cascading down your spine like a waterfall of static. It hits your hips and plunges into your thighs. Your legs, previously anchored firmly to the floor, begin to protest. The muscles in your quadriceps lock, then release, then lock again in rapid succession. You try to press your feet into the ground to steady yourself, but the floor feels suddenly distant. A violent tremor erupts in your calves, a rapid-fire vibration that travels upward, shaking the very foundation of your posture. Your knees knock together, a sharp, rhythmic sound that echoes in the quiet room. You are no longer holding your position. The energy is holding you. The tremor is not a choice, but a necessity of the release. Your legs are shaking with such intensity that your entire frame begins to oscillate, a frantic, mechanical movement that defies your attempts at stillness. The floor beneath you seems to tilt as your balance dissolves into the kinetic storm. You let go of the need to remain upright, letting the shaking take command of your limbs. The kinetic storm does not stay trapped in your lower limbs. It climbs. You feel the vibration migrate upward, crossing the threshold of your hips and flooding the core of your body. Your solar plexus contracts, a deep, visceral pull that draws your breath into a tight, sharp intake. The energy is no longer just a tremor. It is a surge, a wave of heat and movement that forces your spine to arch and collapse in rapid, rhythmic cycles. Your chest heaves against the pressure, the muscles of your abdomen rippling as they struggle to contain the force of the release. It feels as though a dam has burst within your very center. Every breath you take is punctuated by the involuntary undulation of your torso, a physical manifestation of the survival patterns finally losing their grip on your nervous system. You feel the tension peeling away from your ribs, layer by layer, as the shaking turns into a fluid, rolling motion. The energy moves like liquid through your midsection, twisting your spine and pulling your shoulders into the rhythm. There is no resistance left to offer. Your torso is a conduit, a hollow space through which the old, stagnant survival energy is being violently purged. The impulse to tighten your muscles, to force your body back into a rigid, composed state, rises in your mind like a reflex. You see the urge clearly. You feel the fear of losing control, the instinct to clamp down on the chaos, but you do not act on it. You watch the thought dissolve before it can manifest in your limbs. You stop fighting the rhythm. You let the shaking dictate the pace, allowing your body to become a vessel for the discharge. Your jaw goes slack, your neck tilts, and you lean into the violent, erratic motion. The tremor is no longer something happening to you. It is something you are participating in. You surrender your authority to the nervous system. The shaking accelerates, shifting from a rhythmic pulse into a wild, unpredictable dance. You do not try to smooth the edges or quiet the movement. You lean into the discord, accepting the chaotic vibration as the necessary price of release. Every muscle fiber vibrates in isolation, then in unison, a frantic symphony of shedding. You are a passenger in your own frame, observing the purge without interference. The resistance is gone. The erratic, violent shaking begins to smooth into long, rolling waves of muscle release. You observe the process as if from a distance, watching your own frame respond to the internal purge. Tension that has been locked in your shoulders for years begins to liquefy, sliding down your arms and out through your fingertips in rhythmic pulses. It is a visible shedding. You feel the heavy, calcified knots in your upper back break apart, the muscles twitching and then lengthening. This is not just your own history leaving the body. You recognize the weight of burdens you did not choose to carry, patterns passed down through generations. Your neck muscles soften, the vertebrae shifting with audible clicks as the pressure dissipates. Each wave of movement carries away a layer of inherited survival instinct, leaving behind a hollow, clean space where the tightness once resided. You are witnessing the physical undoing of a legacy of fear until the density of your own body feels transformed, lighter. The intensity shifts. It is no longer just your own muscles letting go. You feel the marrow itself vibrating with the force of an ancient, inherited history. The purge reaches a fever pitch. Your hands claw at the air, your spine arches, and a sound escapes your throat, not a word, but a raw, resonant frequency. You are witnessing the dissolution of survival patterns that have been etched into your lineage for centuries. The heat in your core flares, a blinding, golden pressure that forces the final remnants of inherited fear out through your pores. You feel the ancestral grip on your nervous system snap, It is a profound, visceral uncoupling. The shaking reaches a violent, singular peak, then abruptly stalls. Your limbs lock, then go limp, dropping with the weight of a spent storm. The air feels different, thinner, clearer. The heavy, suffocating density that defined your internal landscape for years has vanished. You are hollowed out, stripped of the survival scripts you never authored, left with nothing but the quiet, steady rhythm of your own heart. The purge is absolute. You remain in the center of the room, anchored by the floor, yet the internal landscape is unrecognizable. A final, subtle tremor ripples through your nerves, not of chaos, but of resolution. Every fiber of your being vibrates with the intensity of the release, a lingering hum that resonates from the marrow of your bones to the surface of your skin. This is the breaking point. The cycle of old trauma, once a rigid, repeating loop, finally snaps. You feel the structural integrity of those ancient survival patterns fail, crumbling like dry earth under the weight of your own presence. The vibration intensifies for one heartbeat, a singular, piercing frequency that clears the last of the static. Then, the tension vanishes. The grip of the past on your nervous system is gone, leaving behind a profound, resonant silence. You are no longer reacting to the echoes of what came before. The breaking is complete, and in the wake of that collapse, you find yourself standing on the threshold of a new, unburdened existence. The violent tremors that define the last hour begin to lose their momentum. They do not stop abruptly, but rather taper off, shifting from erratic jolts into a slow, rhythmic pulse that travels from your feet up to your shoulders. You watch your hands as they rest on your knees. The twitching in your fingers fades into a gentle, steady hum. With every exhale, the heavy, metallic density that once anchored your muscles to the floor seems to evaporate. It is a physical shedding, a literal lightening of the load. Where there was once a rigid, aching tension, there is now a fluid, hollow space. You feel the temperature in the room drop slightly, a cool clarity washing over your skin as the last remnants of that trapped, stagnant energy bleed out into the air. Your breath deepens, no longer forced, but natural and expansive. The muscles in your neck, long held in a defensive crouch, finally drop and lengthen. The weight that once pressed down on your chest is gone, replaced by an airy, buoyant sensation that makes your very bones feel porous and light. You sit in the quiet, eyes still closed, feeling the pulse of your own heart against the silence. The absence of the old tension is not a void, it is a space being filled. You trace the path of the energy that just left your body, observing it not as something lost, but as something returned. The past was a vault, holding your vitality hostage in shadows and survival reflexes. Now, the vault is open. You realize you are not erasing the history that shaped you. You are dismantling the barricades that kept your own life force trapped behind it. Every ounce of energy that was once spent maintaining those defensive patterns is now flooding back into your current awareness. It is a reclamation. You feel the heat returning to your extremities, a vital, pulsing current that belongs to the present moment. You are not discarding the memories. You are stripping away the weight they carried, leaving only the raw, unburdened power of your own existence. The clarity is sharp, undeniable, and entirely yours. You breathe in, and the air feels richer, more substantial, as if you are finally inhaling the full capacity of your own life. The shadows have dissolved, and in their place, you find the engine of your own creative flow, humming with a steady, reclaimed intensity. The last faint tremor in your calf muscles dies away, leaving you entirely motionless. You do not reach for the next breath. You wait for it to arrive on its own. A profound and heavy stillness descends upon the room, as if the air itself has thickened to support your weight. You feel the floor beneath you, solid and unyielding, grounding every point of contact. The silence is no longer an absence of sound. It is a physical presence that presses gently against your skin. Your eyes remain closed, yet the darkness behind your lids is clear, devoid of the flickering images of survival patterns. Every muscle fiber, once coiled in a defensive state, is now slack and heavy. You are a statue of your own making. The pulse in your neck slows, matching the steady, rhythmic heartbeat that thrums in the silence. You do not move. The silence is absolute. It is not merely the absence of noise, but a dense, velvet weight that fills every corner of the room. You sit within it, and for the first time, you feel the boundaries of your own body softening, merging with the stillness. There is no internal chatter, no flickers of past survival, no anticipation of the next moment. Only this. The peace is so profound it feels like a physical presence, a cool, steady pressure against your chest and palms. You observe the rhythm of your breath, which has become so shallow it is almost imperceptible, a mere ripple on the surface of a deep, dark lake. The air in the room feels charged, vibrating with a static, golden quality that you can sense against your skin. You are not waiting for anything to happen. You have arrived. The chaos of the previous hours has been completely replaced by this singular, crystalline state of being. You feel the floor, the walls, and the space between them as a unified whole. Every nerve ending is quiet, every thought is suspended. You are a vessel of pure, unmoving presence, anchored in a stillness so deep that time itself seems to have lost its forward momentum. 20 minutes pass in the slow, rhythmic cadence of your own breathing. Each inhale is a subtle expansion, each exhale a gentle release, yet the body remains entirely anchored. You are not tracking seconds, you are measuring the depth of this new baseline. The silence remains unbroken, a constant, steady hum that permeates the space. You feel the rhythm of your own heart, a slow, deliberate thud that resonates through the floorboards. This is the solidification of your state. The frantic energy of the past has been replaced by a dense, calm focus that holds you in place. You observe the sensation of the air against your skin, noting how it no longer triggers a reaction, only a quiet acknowledgement. Your mind is a clear, still pool, undisturbed by the ripples of memory or anticipation. You are refining the capacity to remain in the center, training the nervous system to recognize this stillness as your natural home. The 20 minutes are not a waiting period. They are an active process of anchoring. With every cycle, the foundation grows firmer. The internal noise is gone, leaving behind a profound, unwavering clarity. The transition begins with the slow, deliberate lift of your eyelids. You do not rush the movement. As the light enters, the room does not rush to meet you. It waits. The sharp, jagged edges of the furniture soften into gentle, clear forms. You look at the wall, the grain of the wood, the way the light pools on the floor, and you notice the absence of the usual internal commentary. There is no urge to categorize, no impulse to judge, no immediate reflex to label what you see. The world feels sharper, yet strangely distant, as if the air between you and the objects has been scrubbed clean. You shift your gaze to the window. The movement of the leaves outside is distinct, each motion fluid and separate, yet you remain entirely unreactive. The old habit of feeling pulled by the environment is gone. You are no longer a participant in the frantic dance of external stimuli. Every detail is vivid, standing in high relief. You breathe, and the air feels cool and crisp, confirming the lens has been polished. You recognize the shift not as a thought, but as a physical alignment. Your internal antenna, once frayed and static-filled, now hums with a clean, steady signal. You feel the connection between your core and the space around you, a bridge of awareness that allows information to flow without friction. You test this by shifting your focus to the furthest corner of the room, then back to your own pulse. The transition is instantaneous, fluid, and effortless. There is no lag, no hesitation, and no resistance from old patterns. You are tuned to a higher frequency, one where the noise of survival has been replaced by the clarity of creative intelligence. Every breath you take now acts as a confirmation of this new state, drawing in presence and exhaling the remnants of the past. You are no longer reacting to the world, you are resonating with it. The fog that once clouded your decision-making has dissolved, leaving behind a sharp, spontaneous capacity for insight. You sit in this state, feeling the weight of your body against the floor, yet sensing a lightness in your mind that feels boundless. This is not a temporary peak. It is a recalibration of your baseline. You have successfully rewired the system, transforming your internal landscape into a conduit for sustained, vibrant creative flow. The final minute of stillness ends not with a sound, but with a decision. You place your palms against the floor, feeling the solid resistance of the ground beneath you. You push. As you rise, the transition from sitting to standing is deliberate, each muscle engaging with a new, quiet efficiency. You are no longer carrying the weight of the past in your shoulders or the tension of survival in your legs. You stand fully upright, spine lengthened, head balanced, eyes scanning the room with a gaze that is both soft and piercing. You take a step toward the door. The floorboards do not creak under your weight. You move with a fluid, grounded grace. You reach for the handle, your hand steady, your mind quiet. As you pull the door open, the light from the hallway spills into the room, and you step across the threshold. You are not leaving the practice behind. You are carrying it with you. Every movement you make, every breath you draw, and every interaction you initiate now serves as a testament to the power of release. The world outside waits, complex and demanding, but you meet it with a clear, resonant presence. You are the bridge between the stillness and the action.
Thank you for watching Frequency XO Productions. And remember, never give up on yourself.